everybody. Welcome back to our Epic 6 D&D campaign here on Downtime Activities with Matt and Brandon as our two player characters who have yet to have a character level. And to steal a line from another, much more successful Dungeon Master, I'm literally everybody else in the world. So you have just arrived in the city of Anku, which is the what some people call the Kenra capital. What used to be the capital of the Kenra kingdom of Nathifa, and is a significantly larger and many would say more beautiful city than the current provincial capital, which you left behind downriver on the coast.
How long has this been no longer the capital?
About 100 years.
Okay.
But you know well that, like, nobody's really forgotten that.
Right.
100 years is a long time. It's not necessarily long enough to forget being conquered.
Yeah.
You're not enough generations removed that the opinions of the now dead generations have died off with them. There are still some people. There's still some people who have that generational hate.
My grandpa said they're dirty bastards. Oh yeah.
Well, your grandpa's right. Damn it. I have much longer time since my place has been conquered, but we live a lot longer. So
ratios.
With the scale ratio.
You have family that remembers before you were conquered.
That kind of sucks.
Is he like paying us and telling us to like get off his boat, or is he? I guess I will definitely offer to help.
Yes,
haul stuff
yeah. I mean, they're as soon as you kind of find it. It doesn't necessarily take all that long to like find a place to dock. But if you're willing to sort of help through the day, that will earn you another gold piece.
Happily.
And Majid's essentially willing to pay you as long as he has goods to sell and you're there to protect them.
Okay.
If you like, you don't necessarily know how long that will be, but if you want, you're free to just sort of take your pay and bounce, or if you want to just like stick around and
I'd stick around for a little bit.
Help for a week or two or whatever. That's
I am going to ask him if I can have a gold piece of my pay taken off, and in return get like a small cut of silk.
I was actually wondering about buying some silk from him too.
He'll give you a gold worth of silk.
Okay.
Let's call it a.
I'll do the same thing.
Let's call it a square yard.
A square yard?
3 feet by 3 feet.
Same.
For gold. You think there's a decent chance this is worth more than gold, but he will give you a square yard of.
What's the name of the river?
The Barhad. Barhad. No, Bardhad. But the middle D is kind of silent. You would know that it's pretty much only people from very far away from here that call it the Bardhad.
The Bardhad.
Yeah.
The Bardhad
a river. Yeah. Not anymore. Sold it for drinking money.
The Bardhad what?
Yeah. At some point, I'm down to stick around and continue helping, but on days that we think it's probably just like kind of lax, I want to go check out some of the sites, some of the more cultural sites.
I feel like we could take shifts essentially during the day, being like the person around where he's selling that make sure people aren't stealing.
Okay.
And you can spend when I'm doing my 8-hour shift, if I'm on the evening shift, then you spend your evening going and.
Give me perception checks each year as you're helping to unload all of the silks.
15.
19 again.
15 and 19.
I like this die.
It's rolling pretty good.
Only rolled twice, and it's both been 19.
You both, as you're sort of, as much you just sort of, like, arranging to have this, like, to have sort of a warehouse to stock this either rent a warehouse to tuck his stuff in, or if he's going to have to like pay the crew and just keep it on board the boat until he's got it sold. As he's sort of like figuring some of this out, you both see a little bit of sort of creeping, I guess. Like as you're just sort of standing around, whether it's like sort of on the dock or on like the deck of the boat, you like both at different times within the span of 5 or 10 minutes see people kind of dart out of sight, sort of like there seems to be a couple of people sort of creeping around on the dock a little bit.
I probably start doing what I should have done as soon as I got this job, which is I take my sword out of from being attached on the side of my pack and start wearing it on my hip. I'm still mostly walking around with the walking stick.
I lay down with that shit attached to my back, so it's not comfortable.
Don't roll over too fast.
Exactly. My sword's all bendy and shit too. Does it look like they're making eye contact with us or like our ship before they dart off?
With a 19, they seem to be watching the ship, watching Majid, and to some degrees watching you two. It doesn't seem like they're watching you two like, I know who you are, scumbag. Like, it just seems to be like they've taken note of, like, armed guards. But they seem to be just kind of watching the ship and the merchant in general.
Gotcha. Okay.
I will just be like, Majid, can't help but notice some wandering eyes towards the ship. I'm sure
I've noticed them too.
I'm sure there's plenty of people who'd like to get their hands on the silk. It's our job. That's what we're here for. But just a heads up. Keep an eye on yourself too if we're not around. Would hate to see something bad happen to you.
He gives you kind of like a knowing wink and then very nearly trips over a coiled rope. He's kind of like and then like turns and like stumbles over a coiled rope and then straightens himself and like continues
come on, boys, that's what I was saying about keeping this stuff tight. And rearrange and tuck it closer to the edge.
This stuff's gonna get stolen.
If Majid keeps rolling this bad on perception checks, I'm gonna give him a permanent disadvantage on perception checks, because then it'll just become a character thing that's much funnier. You're getting the impression that like this is a pretty intelligent dude. This is a pretty like sort of clever and insightful like dude. This isn't necessarily the most like directly perceptive.
Doesn't seem very agile either, but it's fine.
Hey, he didn't fall flat on his face.
That's
He only nearly tripped.
What color's the silk it gives me?
What color do you want it to be?
Blue.
Blue?
Silver.
Okay. Any particular patterning or just blue?
I kind of like the idea of like blue and tan, or like kind of blue and almost like a canvasy or off-white pattern.
Silver, black, and gold fringe.
You can tell this ain't real gold, but it looks pretty.
Filigree.
Okay. As it seems like it's potentially going to be a day or two before Majid can, like, whether he starts selling it or whether it's like sort of moved to a warehouse in an interim for the interim period. Like, it seems like it's going to be maybe a day or so. How do you, knowing that there's sort of people creeping about, how do you guys want to handle the sort of that sort of period in between, especially with like Majid wandering around and like talking to people?
Maybe one of us stay on the ship and one of us walk with him. I don't know. It's kind of, I don't want him to get jumped, but I also don't want the ship stuff to be left. But I also don't want to split the level 0 two-man party.
Here's my thing: if he leaves the majority of it back on the ship, there's no reason to go.
Well, he doesn't take any with him while he's walking.
Promotes it, and then he's gonna come grab some himself.
He seems to be like, he's not necessarily working on selling it at the moment. He seems to be working on the like sort of logistical side of like, do I have a place to sell this? Am I going to be moving it into a warehouse for now? Am I just going to be storing it on board the boat?
Gotcha.
He seems to be like sort of.
This is gonna sound terrible, but if he dies, That doesn't change anything for us.
I like him though.
I mean,
He's a
I
good
don't
guy.
want him to die, but...
I think we should have one person kind of shadow him in the city and one person stay on the ship.
Who is more perceptive? Think you're better at spotting people?
I probably am.
If you have any modifier, it's you.
I have proficiency and a decent wisdom.
Yeah, not me. So, I figure you probably... Well, what do you think would be better? Do you want to follow him if you're more perceptive to watch for people? Because I was just going to stay on the ship.
Sure. I'll walk with him if you want to stay on the ship.
Sure.
Cool.
Okay. Give me a perception check as you're sort of following Majid around in his business doings.
22.
22. When, like, Majid tends to walk very fast or almost run. If he knows where he's going, he seems to be like... It's like you absolutely get, like... This is clearly an adult tabaxi, but you get weird kitten energy from this guy sometimes as far as just, like... When he seems excited about something, like he's got a line on something, he's just, like... He tends to just, like, really just, like...
All 9
move
lives.
towards it, which you think might be part of the reason that he's not always paying attention.
He's too excited.
things
Doesn't
terribly
pay
well.
attention. Yeah. Okay.
But despite that, you're not having any trouble keeping up with him. And you're just... And clearly because he's moving fast, the person following you two is having to spend more time moving fast than, like, being...
What does the person look like?
Armed with a knife. They are not wearing armor. Desert robes. It's not a Kenra.
Seems like human.
They seem to be either human or elf. It's kind of hard to tell. They're not dressed opulently. It's not necessarily rags, but it's definitely not like finery or anything like that. But it's not once you're like you're just like really, turns out you're really good at this bodyguard thing. And it's like, it's pretty easy to pick them out of the crowd early on because they're having to make an effort to keep up with you and
crazy
Majid.
cat.
And
Make a path.
You just can, anytime you decide to look for them, it does not take you long to find them in the crowd.
Okay.
You can give me a perception check as well.
I'm gonna kind of
6.
6. Pretty quiet day. The only people on the boat are you and the crewmen, who are like, sort of just like, they've all defaulted now to just talking in the like native like Kenra language. Now that Majid and the elf aren't around, they're just all chatting in Kenra. They seem to be, for the most part, pretty much just taking it easy. It's kind of just a like wait for the cat to get back and tell us what to do. Hopefully he'll pay us so we can go drink.
Alright. Here.
It seems to essentially just is kind of the whole attitude around the boat. But nothing seems really suspicious about the dock or anything.
Instead of just like laying down, obviously, in an attempt to, if I were to miss anything, I just want to go check. Not necessarily pace the whole time, but like turn to look.
You want to be like paying attention.
Yeah.
So.
I'm going to kind of put a hand on his shoulder, kind of forcibly like hold him to slow his pace for a second, and I'll be like, I think that there's an unsavory type trailing us right now. You want to maybe pull off to a side street for a second and see if he approaches? Might be able to tuck around somewhere, and if he means you any ill will, we could hopefully put an end to it quickly.
You're the bodyguard.
I'm going to look for a kind of side street, sort of like alleyway or something.
Okay.
Ideally one that has like some doorway or something I can loom quietly in. I'm going to be like, this may seem like I'm using you as bait, but I'll be right there.
May seem like I'm using you as bait. That's because I am.
And kind of wind into that and then try and like tuck around and wait for this guy to see if he follows us.
Okay.
Into it.
It's easy to find an alleyway. Give me a stealth check, I guess.
Okay. Not great. 7.
7.
Exactly. I knew it.
2 arms with a sword sticking
Why
out of
not?
No, I still have the sword on the hip. I have the walking stick, but I've kind of popped it up to be like holding mid shaft on it, and the other hand is ready to like crank this thing with 2 hands if I need to.
It's not quite. It's not a dead end alley. Like it opens out into a street further ahead. But Majid's out in the open. You're like looming in a doorway. And you kind of hear somebody like slightly out of breath come running into the alley, and like kind of pause for a second, and then they're like, "You elf boy, out of the doorway."
holding like mid shaft, not
Right.
with the other hand here, but just kind of like by my side, like step around and take a look.
It's the guy that you've seen fall on you. He has a knife in his hand, and he kind of motions at your staff and sword and tells you to put him on the ground.
Okay. I'm gonna be like, and holding the stick, be like, and I'm gonna kind of go. I'm not like this guy's just a common street thief. I don't really feel the need to try and kill him.
Sometimes it's inevitable.
I'm gonna just kind of step to where I'm in between the two of them,
Right.
and kind of hold it up, and I'm holding the stick like
Right.
essentially baseball bat style,
Why
and I'm gonna be
not?
like, "We don't need any trouble here, friend. Keep walking."
Is this man smart enough to know how dangerous of a weapon a stick is?
Are any people?
The answer to that is he's wary, but he doesn't know that this.
I'm kind of
could
like rolling the
straight up
shoulders
kill him.
around, and I'm just like waiting.
I think give me an initiative roll.
Initiative?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. 15.
He's going first.
Okay. So is he running up to me?
Yep.
As he runs up to me, I will use a maneuver. I am going to use my brace.
I played right into his hands.
I'm going to use my brace, where
Right.
I can make an attack as a reaction when somebody moves within reach of my weapon.
Okay.
And if I hit, I get to add my maneuver die to it.
He will be moving into reach of your weapon this turn.
Oh, bad roll. 9.
9.
Yeah.
Even unarmored, that is not going to hit it.
Maybe I might be retiring this rose die soon. It's not rolling good.
All right.
That's right. It was a warning swing.
You don't necessarily you
took something.
don't necessarily miss by a mile. But he narrowly.
Here's where I learn about just how brutal this system is, because he fucking stabs me and I die because I'm 0th level. I should have thrown the knife at him.
He narrowly avoids. Not your fancy knife. You should have just thrown the stick like a spear.
That's better than.
It stabs through
I think
him.
that's worse than whacking someone in the head.
He narrowly avoids getting his block knocked off by this titanic swing of a quarterstaff. And he's going to stab at you with the knife. Which is a 15.
That definitely hits. I don't have any armor.
Well, he didn't have any modifier to it, so
Hopefully he doesn't have a...
that's going to be a
plus.
total of 4 damage.
That technically is massive damage rules, I think, because I only have 7.
So you'll roll con save.
The DM's die. It'll do me well.
Okay, no.
Why?
9.
Why?
9.
Can I ask you a question?
What was happening there?
I'm cycling through
That question is why?
You knew.
What? No, whatever. Average rolls, throwaway rolls, whatever.
It was
But
stupid.
when you're going to do an important roll, why do you ever?
Because the
reach?
DM's die sometimes
to
don't just
succeed,
don't do
DM's
that
die.
interesting thing.
Okay.
It's a 9. It's a 9.
That does
Another
not
9.
meet the DC 15 con save.
It's perpetually 15, right?
Yes.
Okay.
That will never change. There are going to be ways to get advantage or disadvantage on it over the course of the campaign. Not necessarily permanent ways.
Gotcha.
Also, there will be character levels, which will likely, for mine at least, give me proficiency.
Yeah. And it makes it character levels just. I mean, once you have armor, you're less likely to take damage anyway.
Yeah.
And once you have hit points, you're less likely to.
And I mean, at first,
devastating blows.
I was trying to just...
Let's see. Combat
whack this
options,
guy. I'm not trying to
page
kill anybody.
270.
I think this is very fitting. My guy has a great theoretical knowledge of warfare.
And I
I do.
kind of like that you've Roll me a d10. I'll make this on you, not on me. I do like that... 6.
Middle probably isn't too bad.
Can't take reactions, has
Okay.
disadvantage on attack rolls and ability checks until the end of your next turn.
Okay.
Which is... I guess technically I should roll for Majid. Huh? No, he technically ties a guy for initiative, so Majid will go next.
Okay.
Majid will pull a knife. He carries a knife.
Mm-hmm.
His bodyguard just like
I took the stab for
yes,
him.
and it's worth noting that like that's kind of why it's cool that like first combat you're immediately rolling off the system shock table. You have never been injured like this
I've never been stabbed
in your
before.
life.
Yeah.
This is like
Brutal.
this isn't like like you've definitely taken wounds before. Maybe you've broken a bone before. This is something entirely different.
I've been in many sword fights, never been stabbed, and most of the times
they
those
were all
swords were
training.
blunt.
And Majid will take a stab at this guy and hit.
He gonna learn real quick he don't need to pay bodyguards.
Unless he wanted to take that knife wound.
So you like body block from Majid. You take a swing at this guy. He just like barely gets in under the staff. He kind of gets you in the side with the knife. It's kind of more of a slash than a stab. And Majid sort of reflexively like pulls a knife, steps in, and stabs the guy, and the guy goes down. And Majid sort of just like takes a step back, looks at the bloody like dagger in his hand, and just kind of like, well, we should probably get out of here. Like it absolutely takes him a second of just like, okay, let's leave.
I'm gonna look down. I'm gonna give the guy a couple prods with the stick. Is he like just like or is he like dying?
Dead or dying.
Dead or dying? I'm gonna be like, after you. So sharp. Guys are so sharp.
Better than dull.
Majid spends most of the walk back to the boat, moving much slower than normal. And sort of quickly and quietly talking about how he didn't have any choice. He was trying to kill you too. I mean, he stabbed you.
Oh, he's
like,
kind of going into shock right now.
he seems a little. He seems a little. He also seems like I just took on a brigand by myself, like in a knife fight.
It's pretty proud.
Like,
I want to try.
He's half about it and half just like I just fucking killed a man.
I want to try
I just
comfort him.
fucking killed a man.
Not like on the right, I'm gonna be like, I kind of put an arm around his shoulder and be like, there was no other option there. I was gonna knock his block off if you didn't. Like this guy was clearly willing to kill us to take your goods. Like you had to do this.
Okay. Give me a persuasion check.
10.
10? I mean, he doesn't necessarily seem like back to normal.
Mm-hmm.
But like you telling him the same thing he's telling himself
Little confirmation,
seems to help a little bit. So returning to the boat, you guys see a like slightly wide-eyed Majid and an obviously injured fancy pants elf.
I don't look like a fancy pants, especially not stabbed.
By the way, what's your garb? Are you?
I'm in like traveling gear. I'm essentially think about what a hoplite would wear, and then peel all of the armor off of them.
Sandals and a tunic.
Sandals and a tunic,
Okay.
more or less. I have kind of like a traveling schmuck sort of like overrobe that I could be wearing, but I'm not wearing it.
Gotcha.
Way too fucking hot for that. Here.
Gotcha.
So yeah, it's essentially just a
This
tunic
is
and
the period of
sandals.
history where every commoner across almost the whole world wears sandals and a tunic.
Mine.
Unless you're a Visigoth or an Ostrogoth, like one of the Germanic tribes, in which case you wear pants, which the Romans thought was the most uncivilized thing.
You barbarians.
Godless heathens.
That's
a lot of them.
That's a piece of history that I love so much.
If you're like a particularly astute noticing person, you might notice that the tunic is like a tunic that's a kind of worn, rough version of a very like pretty fine, well-made tunic.
So used.
It's used, it's like worn, but the quality is very nice. It's like probably a fine tunic that's been worn in stuff long enough in rough enough locations that it doesn't look as nice as it once did.
Gotcha. Okay. Had fun without me, I see.
Street thieves. We dealt with it.
Majid immediately goes sort of digging around in his stuff.
And I'm kind of like, look away. I'm pulling up the tunic. Like,
this is well before underwear. So
yeah, no, I'm dangling out there. I don't care, a bunch of fucking sailors.
I got a loincloth, dude. I get it.
I'm like looking, it's like,
Majid comes back
across my
with
abs.
like a sort of little ceramic jar of like some sort of balm or medicine and like a sewing kit.
This is gonna sting.
It stitches your side.
The stitches I handle better than the knife. I definitely like when I got sides, there was like a little bit of like a, oh god, I just been stabbed kind of. With this like getting stitched, like I've gotten stitches before. It's like I kind of wince, but I just kind of grit it out, and I'm fine with that piece of it. I seem more fixated on the like, oh god, I just got stabbed. Oh Jesus, somebody just tried to kill me. If he had gotten a finer stroke, I could be dead right now.
Give me perception checks again.
Much more good.
I'm gonna give Majid disadvantage.
11.
18.
18.
I can't swing this goddamn stick or anything.
I can see it coming.
But I can see it coming.
Majid's roll was bad, partially just because I gave him disadvantage. He's distracted, and I think it's funny that he can't notice anything. And that's how you evolve. That's how you build complex characters. Is see what the sticks.
See what they suck at and make them worse at it.
And see what they're good at and make them better at it.
Mm-hmm.
And thus we have a complex and sort of goofy character. You're the only one who notices. The crew is like, oh, our new friend's been stabbed. Like, damn brigands. But then when a couple of brigands appear at the top of the ramp leading up from the dock, they are immediately like, damn brigands, we're unarmed. We're
Oh, I hate brigands. Oh, brigands, welcome. Take whatever you like.
Come this way, come this way.
Brigands, my favorite, please.
One of them seems to be... one of them is a Kenra. Sort of similar to the brigand that you guys fought in the alley. He's just armed with a knife. The other one is human. He's a little older. He kind of carries himself like a veteran.
Okay.
Like maybe a former legionary. Maybe a veteran of from Hara out west. It's kind of hard to tell. And he's armed with like essentially a gladius, like a short sword.
Real quickly, did that balm actually heal at all, or did he just stitch me up?
It just stitched you up.
And it's definitely been. This is like pretty shortly afterwards that this is happening. Okay.
But sort of seeing like, and like it seems like the brigands don't necessarily seem surprised by the fact that you're wounded. Seems like maybe they noticed it on your way back in, and that's why they decided to approach. And the human that's carrying the short sword doesn't even like draw his blade, but he like has a hand resting on it, and he just sort of motions the crew, all the unarmed people back with one hand, being unarmed at the moment they oblige, and kind of looks at like sort of Majid in particular and says that like if he hands over his gold, if he hands over any other sort of easily carryable valuables, they won't kill you all, essentially.
So it's just the two of them?
Mm-hmm. Seems like it's just two. Like maybe there was a third, but he died in an alley somewhere.
I kind of am gonna clutch her aside, take the stick, and prop it up to help kind of get up there. And I'm not like charging them or anything, but I'm gonna stand by Majid, still holding the quarterstaff.
And Majid seems to be more like, you're like, I'm standing by Majid because he'll take the lead on this. Majid seems to be like, I'll stand by this guy because he'll take the lead on this.
Oh, good.
But Majid absolutely like has his dagger in his hand. It seems a little bit more like in for a penny, in for a pound, I guess. Mm-hmm. And this like veteran seems to be like sort of not quite amused, but sort of just like he's like, merchant and his hired guards and think they're tough. Get kind of look on his face, even though like he looks a little ragged around the edges. If that makes sense. Like he's definitely past his prime. Like he's clearly a veteran, but he's like he doesn't look like he's in, like necessarily in full fighting shape anymore.
I'm half leaning on the stick to keep myself up here because it hurts a lot.
Probably a strong young warrior from
His stick capable of braining you, and I don't know if no one else is gonna say anything immediately. I'm gonna be like, "You're not gonna take anything from him. I think it'd be best if we all just part ways here, unless you want to end up like your friend in the alley."
He's kind of like looks you up and down, and it's like, I don't think you are capable of fighting anyone at the moment.
I'm gonna kind of just glance or look to you. What kind of look do you have on your face?
Stoic.
Stoic? Seems like a kind of man I'd charge into hell with.
This seems like an important text.
It's definitely not. It was pretty mean, so I definitely don't have my. We haven't taken a short rest.
Yeah.
Well,
that's alright. I gained nothing back from those.
I think what's gonna happen here is I'm gonna like kind of standing there. This guy's clearly not backing down.
Nope.
I have a stoic jackal friend beside me.
I pull my javelin off.
Okay.
I'm gonna draw like kind of. With the hand not holding the stick, kind of draw the dagger into the air, catch it, and throw it at the other guy, not the veteran, but his buddy.
At the Kenner?
Yeah.
Okay. You can roll that attack roll. We'll have everybody roll initiatives.
20 on the dagger.
13.
Not natural 20.
Oh,
dirty 20.
Sorry, that's your attack.
That was my attack. My initiative is far worse. I would be going last, I'm sure. I assume a 20 hits the Kinra on the dagger throw.
Yes.
For 4 damage.
What's your initiative?
It is 3.
Okay.
It was a crit fail on
makes you
initiative.
easy to slot into this.
My brother's lucky dagger.
Not gonna lie, I definitely forgot that everything is strength based and that it takes features to change that. But I think it's still fitting because that.
Well, and I think you can
change.
use the javelin as a melee weapon technically. Well, no. I mean, you might be able to, but you'd still use strength if you're using it as a melee weapon.
Yeah, I think
you'll
so,
get
'cause
one
it
really
just
good
says
throw in.
Yeah.
And we're not facing guys in armor.
That's
What was
alright.
the the damage on the dagger?
It was 4.
4.
Mm-hmm.
The Kenra goes down.
Okay. So I'm kind of like, after he says that, it's kind of pop, catch, and
Well.
it seems like a pretty practiced motion.
I mean, yes, I mean, it's a devastating blow. He's almost certainly. Okay, well, he's still standing. But it looks sort of like when you got stabbed, of just the like, oh god, I've been stabbed. And he seems kind of close to the brink. You've seen a man die today. You have a slightly better idea of what that looks like.
Killed a man before still, so hitting him with the dagger is a little scary too for me.
Your initiative was
13.
13. The Kenra's technically up first.
Yeah. Scream. Throw things at me.
I mean, he'll move. You're the one who hit him, so he'll go for you.
Hopefully with disadvantage. Not that it's going to maybe matter because I am.
It's with disadvantage.
So weak. I'm a level 0.
10.
10 misses.
10
I
misses.
do have enough dexterity. So he kind of goes down. I kind of like take the stick and kind of sweep his arm with the dagger out to the side as he goes for the stab.
Well, you've thrown the dagger.
No, his dagger. Like,
Oh,
when he
right.
does, I take my quarterstaff and kind of catch his arm.
You can't block with your dagger.
I pull the dagger out of him as he walks up and reflect his knife.
I mean, I might have a statistical effect for pulling the dagger out of him, but if you want to make a roll for that.
I do not. Tertius does not want to pull this dagger out and watch this guy bleed through the hole. He threw the dagger because he's scared, more than because he's trying to be tactical.
Next is Asim.
I'm just gonna say out loud, do you want this to happen to you too? To the vet?
Okay.
Does he say anything?
I think that the time for talk is over.
I'm just gonna I'm just gonna ready my javelin so that if he steps forward or if I see him attack, then
You'll throw it? Yeah.
Okay. At the veteran?
Yep.
Okay. Next is Majid, who is standing next to a man who has tried to kill him.
Who's just kind of thrown him off balance by blocking the
and so
dagger.
Majid will
steps
go
out from behind me again and murders somebody.
He hits him.
I make a great wall. I make a great wall.
You distract him, I'll stab him.
That's technically cocked, so I will re-roll it. It was essentially a 19, but...
Dear God.
Well, you know...
It was better, wasn't it?
No, it wasn't, but I don't think it's physically possible for Majid not to kill this guy.
Okay, good.
I hit him
That's
for
good.
4, and we're a 0th level over here.
And Majid kills again. It kind of does the same thing where he, like, stabs him, like, sort of reflexively, the guy goes down and just kind of steps back and is just, like, looking at the bloody knife in his hand, just like, gods, what have I become?
We can't let him get used to this. He's going to become a serial killer.
He seems pretty sad about it still. It's not like, he's not getting too excited about it.
That's Majid's turn. It will be the Brigand veteran. He will make a move to draw his sword and move forward, which will trigger your ready action.
Let's see if this hits. It
Almost
is a 16 to
That'll
hit. For 10 damage.
Okay.
I didn't mean to roll max.
Damage.
That's going to be a con save.
Massive damage.
That fails.
Yes.
Wow. I mean, not that it matters.
Was it a 1?
All right, look, here. Okay, so here's the deal behind the screen, right? I'm running off of soldier stats for this guy, which means 11 hit points. Which means you just dropped him to 1.
Damn.
Which doesn't matter because he rolls a 1 off the system shock table,
Nice.
and this creature drops to 0 hit points.
Nice.
So as he draws a sword, moves a step forward, and you just kill a man with a thrown javelin in a single thing.
I've kind of after playing that, I kind of have the stick up and lean against it. Brigands.
Majid will send one of the crewmen to go grab any local city guard or anything, just anybody with any authority that they can find. It seems to be just in
So both of these guys are dead now, right?
yes.
I'm gonna go over, and this is gonna sound bad at first, but there's a reason. I want to dig through their pockets and find their money.
The reason is I'm broke.
They have anything on them?
They are broke. If you're looking for money, you find none.
And they have a short sword and a dagger on them.
Mm-hmm.
Is that right? I'm gonna go pull my dagger out of the one guy. Kind of wipe it off, put it back in its spot, and I think I'll take the other dagger if you don't want it.
No, you're good.
Do you want the short sword?
Yeah, sure.
Okay. That way I can throw a dagger that's not my brother's, marble inlaid, very treasured dagger.
I'm just gonna close both of their eyes, knowing that these guys are dead. Pull my javelin out, clean it off, stack it back up, and just grab my ankh and put my hand on their forehead and do just not a ceremony, but a blessing to these dead bodies that they pass easily into wherever they're going to go.
Roll a perception check. Even though you're just wandering around wounded.
11.
11.
Excuse me, 10.
10. Okay.
I'm kind of like watching him do this. I'm like, clearly he's a lot more comfortable with death than I am. Like, I'm still kind of like, oh God, like I kind of gonna take the dagger and like tuck it into the belt and just kind of look over these guys and just feel like I start getting some sort of
All this just for a little bit of money.
like, clearly these guys were just destitute. I feel kind of bad for them. And I'm like, if only I had knocked them out with my stick instead of these guys getting stabbed. I feel for them. And I'm a little shaken by the whole encounter.
Not as shaken as Majid. He's killed 2 people today.
I don't do a good job of comforting him this time. I'm needing comfort myself, so I'm not even
I
following
can
that up.
try to comfort him, but I'm gonna tell you it's gonna be rough.
You'll be okay with time.
Okay. Death is inevitable. No matter what, this was bound to happen.
Very uplifting.
You guys are like cleared by the sort of force that responds are a couple of Kenra soldiers. It's a pretty open and shut case. You guys are cleared for like it's like yeah, they look at them and go, these were brigands.
These guys are bodyguards. You can tell because they're both 9 feet tall.
Look at the fancy dressed kitty merchant. Look at the destitute brigands. No crime was committed here.
The poor people are dead. Clearly, things have transpired as they should.
Just push the bodies off into the river.
Welcome to the ancient world. No, they do like essentially take the bodies to like Temple of Anubis for like last rites. They don't necessarily know that those have already been given.
That's fine.
Can't hurt to get it twice. I don't think it's like a cancel each other out sort of thing.
I can see by your soul record here that you got last rites twice, which is illegal. So we're gonna have to send you to super hell.
The super hell. It's like normal hell, but like so much more hell.
Your heart weighs more than a feather. That really sucks. Here you go.
You think that these guys' hearts probably weighed more than a feather?
Damn. Those poor suckers.
Yes.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
Yes.
And I agree with you about the weight of their hearts. My heart is very heavy. Even though I killed neither of them, I threw a knife with intent to kill at somebody, and that's kind of hard for me to handle right now. I just threw a knife and it stuck into somebody. That's pretty.
The coast seems to be clear. I assume you guys are just. I assume you're still probably setting a watch through the night.
Yeah.
Yeah, probably. Because now they're going to be pissed off if there's more.
So you can recover.
Well, we get through the night's sleep.
Points. Yes.
I will get my points back
and any,
as well as
like
my
any one of the
maneuver.
abilities that you've used. You get
My
back.
maneuver is back as well.
And the next day, Majid will move everything, like all the soaps and stuff, into a warehouse, which has some of its own guards and is locked and stuff like that. And he will pay each of you 15 gold for your services. He's going to be in town for a couple of weeks. If you want the sort of boring job of trying to keep up with the cat merchant running way too fast through the city streets, you guys are also sort of free to do what you would do. You're released from your contract. You've completed what you were hired to do. It's sort of with the standing offer that, like, if you ever need a favor or are looking for work, if you can track down Majid wherever he is, he's happy to help.
I believe he is fine on his own. He has gotten a taste of blood and now knows that he can do what he needs to do, as long as he learns to look around a little bit.
Don't think he's ever going to learn that lesson. I
He's
have
also
been
fat.
stabbed. I think that I want to live a little. I want to experience the city. Having looked death,
shit, I'm mortal!
like I've looked death in the eye now, and I'm like, it would be a prudent thing to experience more. I'm all about like new experiences. I need to be more about that because holy shit, somebody just slashed me.
Meta question is, I've never had a negative in an attacking stat before. With the Kopesh being a longsword and being strength-based, I have a -1 to it.
You do subtract 1.
It is, so it's 1d8 minus 1.
1d8 minus 1. However, if it can't ever be lower than 1. So if you roll a 1 on it, it's not 0 damage, it's just 1 damage.
Okay, so minimum 1.
Minimum damage is still 1, but you do subtract 1 from your damage.
And you have proficiency in it, right?
Yes.
So you'll be at a total of +1
to hit. But the damage is
Yes.
minus 1. Yeah.
Because your proficiency, even without a character level,
now you have a short sword.
bonuses.
So in the interim, you have something that you can kind of you can more agilely swing.
Right.
And soon it will
You
change
will
anyway.
actually get a dex bonus.
Yeah.
So all right. So
But you won't get your proficiency.
Right,
It'll
so
just
that's
be
the,
your
like-
dex bonus because you're not proficient with short
That's
swords.
that's
right.
that's
It'll
sort
just
of
be a
the
+4
balancing
for
act
you.
there, which
Yeah.
at 0th level doesn't necessarily matter. Of like, do I
Which
use
is-
the
it's a
proficiency?
martial?
That's not great.
You don't have any. You just have like this. We both have some weapon
I
proficiencies
just wanna
just because
make
of our
sure.
races.
For future stuff, I know that what
Which
I'm ended
is,
up
if
taking
you're
gets symbol
doing an
weapons.
epic series campaign,
Pretty
that isn't a bad route to take.
especially if you're starting at 0th level.
Right. And it's also entirely possible. And like, you know, when I was my street rat character in a previous epic 6, you don't necessarily need weapon proficiencies to still be functional early.
I haven't used a weapon proficiency yet. Like I'm not proficient in the staff or the dagger. The longsword I am because I'm an elf and I have like the elf weapon training, but I don't. This guy doesn't draw a sword yet. He's not in the like I'm going to fight people to the like. He's not like a militant yet. He's like I'm going to try and thwack these guys because they're criminals. But yeah, the long sword has not been pulled out yet for good reason. But yeah, I think that I'm going to kind of hit the town for a little bit and I don't know. See what kind of experiences there are to be.
What are you looking for anything in particular, or?
I've heard rumor of some sort of strange apparatus that they use here to burn and smoke fumes from something, and that it's quite the experience. So I'm probably trying to find some sort of hookah style.
You're going to get high, you want hookah.
I'm
going
to
say, Brandon,
use-
this is what you need to understand is tobacco isn't going to be discovered until like the 15th century when they find it on the other continent.
Yes, probably ain't
so
going to be normal.
everything here is probably going to get you high if you smoke it.
I want to find a din of that and experience hookah.
That's entirely possible. Are you going along for the ride, or are you off on your own adventures?
I'm going to follow him for now because I feel like I can look around as it goes.
Sorry?
I'm going to be like, have you ever... I've heard that there's this, like, glass vase apparatus that they light things on, and there's a spout.
You probably would have heard of them before.
Yeah.
I think what you should go for is whether or not you've ever used one. Yeah.
I just have to decide how I'm doing this. Heard of it, never smoked it, though.
You want it?
I'm gonna wait. I'm gonna wait and see what happens first.
Well, I'll smoke it, and you can join along if it seems like a good time to you.
Okay, you wake up half naked in a Denny's parking lot.
Again?
Damn it! Just how's my mouth feel? Did I take another bite of the street meat?
Oh god! Oh
I
god!
got high and got the munchies.
Dehydrated, and then just
On
fucked
fire.
up. Yeah.
The big question is, a Denny's?
No, a hookah Denny's.
No, an opium Denny's.
Ah, yes.
You wake up in Imperial China.
In an opium Denny's.
On the other side of the world, you're just like, how did I get here?
It also teleports you.
But
to
your
the
whole
worst
your
place.
whole quest getting back to this campaign, every NPC you interact with is going to start the conversation with like, "You son of a bitch! I told you never to come back around here again." And you'll wonder,
I seriously don't know why, but I'm sorry. I am going to ask the most trustworthy looking Kinra on the street I can find where a local din is.
That's me.
It would,
I said the most trustworthy.
Hey, I put trustworthy.
you can certainly find one. It's by no means illegal.
Okay.
It sort of depends on like what you decide to smoke out of it. Like the sort of basic range of sort of ingredients
Desert plants.
aren't necessarily going to be controlled. You would know that there are some stuff that the Empire absolutely cracks down on super hard if it's not like specifically for religious ceremonies.
Sorry, by happenstance with this, part of the acolyte is that they have their prayer book and incense and stuff with me.
Yeah.
Do I have to worry about any of the incense being stuff I shouldn't have anywhere?
No.
Okay.
It's just incense.
Okay.
It's not going to be anything that's like.
It's more ritual.
It's not an illegal substance.
Gotcha.
It's the sort of symbolic and the sort of sensory. It's not like an actual drug.
Right. What it does. Gotcha.
So you can absolutely find a pretty fancy hookah, and it seems to have more than just like hookahs available. And I mean, they seem to serve wine, some food, kind of stuff like that. It's meant to be very sort of cushy.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? It's a lot of pillows and sort of.
I'm going to
extras
do what
sometimes.
every working man in a city down south does, and that's go blow some money at the hookah den, the opium den, after my work is done and I've been paid. Yeah, I'm going to happily pop in and be like, I could use an evening of sitting on a pile of pillows, having an experience. I'm into like, let's see what this opium thing is about. Not like, I want to see God. Like, nothing too crazy.
So if you're going for the like legal, local sort of desert plant range of stuff, there's everything from everything from a silver to a gold piece, as far as like sort of how intense and how long the experience is going to be. They are obviously sort of pushing the gold piece end stuff.
I'd probably bite. I'm all about the new experience, as long as it's staying within the like legal. I'm not getting into the see the face of God stuff. I'll do a gold piece experience.
Perfectly legal, sir.
Just smoke it before you get caught. You'll be fine.
There's no drug tests. As long as I don't see any legionaries poking their head in the window, I will trust their word.
They're just waiting.
Even if I do, I'll be like, oh, these are practitioners of the sword. If they say it's legal, it must be. Gold piece. Thank you, good sir.
Okay. So you're sort of taken to a sort of lounge, and like, again, they do have food and drink and stuff available. You're welcome to partake, sort of on his dime. You're also welcome to like buy food or drink or whatnot. But they'll set everything up for you. And it's just like, you're not sure what you expected, like hearing these weird stories about this apparatus and stuff. It's like, this isn't quite what you expected. It's this like gorgeously like blown gas bowl and this like very ornamental like wrought metal stem that stands probably a good 3 or 4 feet tall. With this sort of ceramic bowl with a burning coal atop it, and this like ornately embroidered like cloth sort of hose with like a metal mouthpiece that like fits into the side of it. So it's like it is a contraption.
What sort of artifice is this?
But they'll get everything set up for you, and that's sort of part of the thing with like paying for those experiences. They'll keep everything running.
Okay.
Sort of for as long as you're there.
All right. I'll lounge and.
I think I'm just gonna watch.
Okay.
He's like, I keep getting to go to the poison tables on this. Woo!
Do I need to roll a con save for this?
I don't think so. You're like
I'm not fighting
you're not
it.
fighting it.
No. I'm not the person trying to stay sober. I'm trying to
So I
experience
don't think
this.
there's any point in like having you roll
I'm going to
con save or
continue
wisdom
puffing
save.
on this until I experience whatever I'm supposed to experience.
It's absolutely like a high. It's a fairly mellow one, and it's a fairly hallucinogenic one. It's not quite the like. Yeah, it's not quite the like.
Not
whoa,
bad trip, or
like,
is it?
No, it's not bad trip stuff, and it's not so much the like you're seeing weird things here in the room. It's a lot more of the like you're seeing things sort of other places. You know, like you're for a little while you're sort of back home. You know, and you're like, and you're seeing, and you're seeing, and it's sort of before everything happened. Like you're seeing the coast again. You're feeling the sea breeze.
I'm sitting in a completely walled off room, but you see my locks blow in the wind because of the secondhand smoke, of course.
He's absolutely sitting there, like with his eyes closed, smile on his face, kind of like moving his head back. He seems to be grooving.
If I ask him, does he respond?
It depends on what you're asking, I guess.
What is it that you're seeing?
You can kind of hear a voice asking you like what you can see and like what's going on and stuff. But it doesn't see. It's not like a voice. It's not a voice coming down from heaven or anything like that. It just like there seems to be somebody there with you, sort of talking to you.
I don't have a heavenly voice, but I definitely can guide people with my voice.
I see beauty. I see home, as it should be, as it was.
So you see your past.
Oh, bummer. Yes.
I do everything. I do everything in my power to avoid this.
Yeah. So like that's sort of for a while. Like you're seeing home. You're seeing sort of like in and out of like places you remember and stuff like that. And then it does kind of take a bad trip direction. You see your brother.
Isidoros.
Clearly fresh off the battlefield, or still on the battlefield. You see the ruins. I mean, ruins is being generous. You see the rubble where a city once stood. Smoke hangs pretty heavily in the air. The smell of blood and ash and salt is very heavy. And your brother does not look happy. He's sort of looking out over this vista, very, and not even stoic, like you sort of know him, but like clearly like bothered.
I try to move to him to like comfort him.
Okay. As you're sort of like moving towards him, it changes to a very deep forest. The air is cold.
You probably see me like sitting here just like.
The air is cold. It's the smell of pine is super heavy.
Which I probably don't know. The
like,
smell of pine.
It's not
smell of
not
pine.
necessarily at least that like familiar.
Mm-hmm.
The earth is very like the like the soil is very dark and rich. You're like it's clear some like it
Good
this
pig country.
yeah very good thinker. Is it? It's clearly foreign land. The sky is kind of stormy. It's not raining, but like the skies are cloudy. It's through this massive forest is a legion on the march. Still, your like brother is there, not looking fresh off a battlefield, looking tired from the march, but he still looks. He looks stoic once more, but he still looks faintly sort of distant. And as you're sort of like rushing to try and catch up to him, all you're doing is like sort of keeping time with this army on the march. And then the last thing you see is what seems to be sort of an old soldier. He seems to be a legionary, or maybe once a legionary. He has this sort of he's wearing a sleeveless tunic and he has a sort of legionary tattoo on his arm, and he's he's wearing just like sort of it's leather armor, but it's mostly just sort of a leather cuirass and a sort of like waist strap. He has a sword on his hip, and he seems to be in a Kenra city. Just sort of wandering through the streets. He's a fairly old man, and is probably in his 50s, fairly well scarred from battle. You sit there, assuming you're not smoking. You sit there for several hours before he, as he kind of rolls around. Sometimes he seems to be grooving. Sometimes he seems to be that kind of like I'm having a nightmare, but I can't quite wake up kind of thing. It seems to be kind of going back and forth between that before he.
It's like watching your dog dream.
Wakes up in sort of the middle of the afternoon.
I'm exhausted. Oh.
So, this seems like a fun vacation you took.
It was certainly a trip.
We'll have written in my prayer book.
Give me another perception check.
Okay.
We'll have written in my prayer book just during this time.
A fine perception check. 22.
22. You must still be on something. Because his shadow... He's sitting there sort of like with a prayer book open. But his shadow is really reaching hard for the hookah hose.
You see me like, look at your shadow. I'm like, oh, I thought I was done. Oh. That's something.
I say nothing. Literally, like...
But yeah,
I look at my own shadow.
Yeah.
Your shadow's your shadow.
Huh.
Your shadow is absolutely just like...
He can keep doing what he wants.
Your shadow's absolutely like reaching insubstantially for the hookah hose.
I assume I'm still on, like
You
I
must still
stuff
be
messes
awesome.
with you.
I'm worried that if
Who
my
was
shadow
that?
gets too high, then we're gonna have a problem.
I'm confused. I'm like sitting here very confused. I'm like, I assume this is like showing me like things from my past or things I could imagine of like my brother's future. But like, who's this random guy? I don't know that guy. That's a weird vision to have.
You have never seen that guy before.
I'm like just searching my memory banks of like, who was that guy? That's weird. Man, it's a very interesting experience. I highly recommend you try it at some point before you die. That is something to remember.
My past is full of nothing but sadness that I wish to never acknowledge again. So, no thank you.
Well, I saw a lot, and not just the past. And some of it wasn't even... It's not like the past, you know? It's more like the idea of what was good about parts of the past. It wasn't like a moment.
Like an out-of-body experience.
No, I was very much there. It was just... It's hard to explain.
Okay.
It was nice. And then it wasn't. And then it was okay.
So
It's very
So
confusing.
during this whole thing, did you remember that you were stabbed?
I didn't think about it once.
That's
I can see the allure.
there you go.
Oh, that's why people do this.
Normally, a couple casks of wine after you've smashed your hand doing something is a good reason to,
Forget
forget
current
those
troubles.
woes. Maybe this is the next natural step in that.
You said it was like midday.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna ask him. Do you feel up enough to travel with me into the city?
Absolutely. Where are we going?
I want to make a quick stop at one of the markets, look for something, and then head to a temple. But you can see why I practice the way I do.
I'd love to learn. Love to see it.
As far as market,
There are plenty.
would I be able to find anywhere that sells, well, weapons?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You could find an armorer that would sell...
I just want to find a spear.
Oh yeah, you could absolutely find a spear.
Okay. How much?
For market price.
It's only
How
been-
come we've got a stack of D&D books here, but the player's handbooks are not near the top?
I don't think spears are very expensive.
Oh, actually, you know what? I'm really stupid. I have it open right now. See if Erickson beats me to it.
I'll get there
I
first.
mean, I'm on it right now.
1 gold piece.
1.
I should just said it instead of talking about being on.
If you were looking at the price, you could have just said the price.
4. And it's a D6 or D8 versatile, right? Yeah.
D6 or D8. It's the same as a staff, but I can't effectively throw the staff.
But it's got a pointy end instead of just being a bludgeoning all around.
Well, because it's versatile, I can make it the up-close dex weapon I need. And then I know there's going to be a lot of Temple of Anubis.
But there is like
I don't know if
this city. There's not necessarily a lot of them. There's kind of several big temples, each devoted to a different god.
I want to find the one specifically
Okay.
dedicated to Anubis, but thinking that there might be a few. I want to find, at least to me, my character's opinion in this is not the temple, but one of the more well-known, more renowned temples. And because of that, thinking that the culture behind it, the history behind it may be more relevant in this than a small temple that may have been interpreting words or hieroglyphs the wrong way or in a different manner. And I just want to go to this temple and, guided tour, to basically just explain that the reason I function the way I am is because I am a follower of the god Anubis, who is not the god of death like most people believe. He's the one that guides death to the place they need to go. Basically, is everyone is going to die, so it's inevitable. It's just
That's of truth, I believe, much more after recent events.
He's more of a gatekeeper of the dead than ruling over the realm of the dead.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And it is it is worth mentioning that this Temple of Anubis would be sort of a hall of the dead as well. This is where bodies would be brought to be prepared to be interred and stuff like that.
Gotcha. It's also obviously.
I mean, you're not going to be allowed back in those sections.
Yeah. The god of embalming and also the protector of the dead. The big reason that he's the one that moves them is also because when they're dead, he's like, all right, off they go. I'm going to take their soul and whatever else they can do now. It's like there's a proper way of treating death. And it should be. Everyone's going to die, so it's not something I should worry about. If I'm the person that has to kill someone, that's fate. That's destined.
So this Anubis god, he's a dog god? Kind of like yourself?
From all this, would scripture be the right word?
Sure.
The texts.
Yeah, the text, the Kenra are supposed to be descendants of Anubis.
How many heads does Anubis have?
One. It is one.
It
Just
is one.
one?
Yeah. Yes.
Because you're saying gatekeeper. I have a gatekeeper of the dead with our gods too, but he's a dog with 3 heads, not just 1 head.
No, he's just he basically is supposed to look like I do and just be really awesome.
How awesome would 3 heads be, though? Maybe
I don't know. Maybe he can
it might
change
be
into
the
that.
same god. Because we have our own god who's in charge of the underworld, but he doesn't. He doesn't watch the gate.
Just before I keep going into this is following along.
Yes.
I'm
I'm just using the mythologies
as
and pantheons of the various cultures because that makes it so much easier. With all the stuff I have to rename and the campaign I have to design anyway, it's so much easier
Just use those
use
pantheons.
what's there.
just use the pantheons of
originally
those various cultures.
the god of the underworld was Anubis, but now it is Osiris. If I remember right.
If I remember right.
I think you're right.
Yeah, and
Osiris. I wonder if Osiris is maybe your word for Hades.
And
or are there 2 underworlds? The gods are very strange to me.
maybe they appear differently to different people. I also know that the other names for Anubis are Anpu and
Cerberus, probably.
it was the
But that's the 3-headed one.
it was Hermes, and it was modified into Anubis. It was Hermanubis. Yeah, where the one that transports people.
I've never given any offerings to Hades or... Well, Cerberus isn't a god in our pantheon. I feel like I should do offerings to Hades. It was always like, oh Zeus, don't give us a storm, or Poseidon, may the waves be, it's... Recently I've reevaluated and I think offerings to Hades might be a good idea.
Wait, I have questions before that. This Hades you speak of, is he like a good man?
He's not, you don't want to meet him too soon. He rules over the underworld. He is your Osiris? Unless it's different underworlds. That's a whole other question. But he takes care of the dead. Your life after death will be very dependent on the life you led. So it's
I mean,
how he deals with that.
if he's trustworthy and he does.
Oh,
the
none
right
of the gods
things.
are trustworthy.
Well, maybe it's a little different then, but
You can't trust any of the gods.
Literally, well, maybe like one of them, but almost literally none of them.
You shouldn't trust the gods, but you should certainly give offerings to them because they're in charge. They control things. I mean, do you trust a wave? You don't trust a wave, but you certainly don't want it to wreck your ship. So if you can give a couple goats to that wave and all's good, then all's good. That's
do you just cut the neck of goats and kick them into the water?
no. We go to temple.
Okay. Well, I mean, it's pretty similar. Yeah.
Deep theological
Yeah.
talks.
After that fun thing,
You are having the exact same talk a lot of history had. It's like, well, see, our version of that god actually has 3 heads. He's not actually a god, he's just a big dog. We call him Cerberus. Oh, interesting.
no, mine is also a dog, but also a man.
Only 1 head. Kind of wish you had 3 now.
Kinda, yeah. But all of that to say, I think that obviously just helps get a little bit better of a perspective to the way my character plans to run things, at least for him. And the other thing is, being in some place that is supposed to be as holy as this is for this god, obviously I want to make a bigger prayer where I can actually like not just hold on to my symbol and talk and write in the prayer book, but like if I am supposed to be someone that passes your message on and helps you lead me where I need to go, and if that involves your help, please help wherever you can, and if not, I will, when I die, I'll see you there.
Where are you doing this prayer? What form is it taking?
I would say probably something you wouldn't see him normally do, where he actually bows, and is there not necessarily an altar, but like, the thing
There's a
you
great
pray
big
to.
statue of Anubis.
Yeah, probably that.
Okay.
Probably do that. And character, not Brandon. I'm gonna leave 2 gold on the statue.
You're not just doing this to make your math easy, are you?
No.
Okay,
In
good.
fact, it
It
makes
actually
it
takes
worse.
it from a 9
And
to
I forgot
7.
to take that to 8, so it makes it 26, which is even worse. Whatever. I'm gonna put just 2 gold pieces.
Because if you think I'm not gonna
Oh,
turn
run
around
with it.
and punish you,
Run with it.
and punish you for that the same way you punished us.
In our Devils of the West game, if anyone intentionally does something to make their math better with money,
yeah.
then I add a wound to the final boss. That's the running rule right now.
Which is literally like, if you need 4 wounds to kill it, it's like literally making it just like
25% harder to kill every single time.
Yeah. Nope, not doing it to make the math easier.
Okay, good. Yeah, that's totally fine.
And that will be as the part of the missing gold for the 2 guys that were killed earlier to hopefully pass.
I mean, honestly, you could get away with like copper pieces or silver. So you've
Technically,
for paying their way. So if that's your intention, is to pay their way, you've more than paid their way.
Yeah, cool. I'm gonna do that then.
Roll me a perception check.
And also, we'll say that because that would be more than normal for the third guy too.
15.
For the third guy that died in the alleyway too.
Yeah. You can cover their payment if you would like.
Remind me, other forms of payment besides gold exist.
He's sort of kneeling, like your new Kenra friend has sort of set his stuff down and is sort of kneeling there praying in this temple of Anubis to a statue of a really big Kenra, a statue of a god. You're not sure.
I'm praying to a dude that looks like him.
Just one.
Yeah.
Like he's sort of like kneeling there, like praying, but his shadow just like is sort of sitting there bored. And sort of like it is absolutely as though he were sitting there, just like sort of cross-legged with his head like this, like that's what his shadow is doing. But he is very obviously like kneeling to.
This is the same day, right?
This is the same day.
Good lord, is this gonna be forever? Look back in my own shadow.
How
Your
long
own
does this
shadow's
shit
totally
last? The longer this happens, he's like, this is some good shit.
Should have gotten the 1 silver stuff. Got shit to do today.
I think.
I assume I'm still buzzing up a little bit, and yeah, I'm not going to question you about it yet, since it's the same day. But I take note.
Since you didn't smoke the hookah, I'll give you your vision now.
Oh god.
As you're sort of laying there praying, and sort of before you go up and put the gold down, you see briefly, sort of in your mind, what at first you assume is the family crypt, sort of out in the desert. It's very obviously a tomb. You see the sort of carved doorway with the correct protective seals and stuff carved all around it. It's
Right.
stuff that you know very well. And at first it's this repressed memories kind of moment of oh great, I come to talk to Anubis, and instead of guidance he just
Makes me feel bad.
he just brings up old trauma.
Damn it.
But then you sort of, as you're sort of standing there looking around, you very quickly realize that this is not your family's crypt. This is a tomb you've never seen before. It's very deep in the desert, and even though it's not buried by sand at all, you get the impression that it's very old.
Interesting.
And there's kind of mountains in the distance ahead of you, and just open desert behind you. You don't necessarily know if you could pinpoint this place on a map, but you're pretty sure that if you saw this place
I know.
again in real life, you would know it.
Gotcha.
In this sort of desert, and it seems to be like the night of a full moon. Especially in the open desert, and with no lights around, with a full moon where you can just see for miles. Because you can easily see these mountains, you can see well out into the desert, sort of on all sides of you. You're fairly certain you are not near a city, that you'd be able to see its lights somewhere. And a sort of cold desert wind blows through. Your shadow shivers.
Yeah.
Uh,
Always be there.
You see him, he's still just kneeling there, as his shadow's just looking bored. And this wind sort of gets stronger and stronger. It begins sort of blowing sand up around you, and then you're sort of back kneeling on the floor of this temple of Anubis in the capital city.
Scary. I feel like I could tell people, but they wouldn't believe me. I must have accidentally caught some of whatever you were smoking earlier in the air.
Maybe if I breathed it out and you were breathing in that same air.
Maybe I shouldn't have been in the same room, but...
Almost as if secondhand you took the smoke. I don't know.
Yes. Well, no one will ever know.
Certainly couldn't be any health risks from that.
It's just breathing, right?
If I have any children, they're coming with me to the opium den. I'm not giving them any. I'm not a monster.
Exactly.
Whoa, contact high.
Said the 6-year-old.
He wasn't sleeping well, so I took him to the opium den.
I'd kind of like to hit the market too.
Okay.
And get some hide. Specifically hide armor.
Okay.
But I want to find a cool jungle cat hide or something.
Okay. You can find a cool kind of jungle cat hide armor that the merchant assures you is not tabaxi.
If it's leopard, you could start following Anubis, and you'd be following the path correctly.
Why would you ever even assume it was tabaxi? It's definitely not tabaxi. This comes from the jungles farther south. It was brought up by Leonin hunters.
I didn't bring up the fact that it's tabaxi, but you seem like a trustworthy sort.
I'm pretty sure you mentioned it.
Did I? To be honest with you, I had my first experience at an opium den today.
Was it the one with the red and purple curtains?
I think so.
That place hits you. It's especially Did you go for the high-end stuff or low-end stuff?
I wanted the full experience.
Oh, yeah, you're going to be... Look, drink a lot of water tonight. You're going to have some really weird dreams. If you wake up tomorrow morning missing a boot or a shoe, that's pretty normal.
He's like, wait for round 2 and 3 to hit, buddy.
I know. I thought it was done, and then I saw a praying man's shadow be bored.
If I was a praying man's shadow, I'd be bored too.
Fine point.
I'm not terribly religious.
I dig into my coin purse and give this man 10 gold pieces for a pelt that is definitely not tabaxi. I assume I can get at the cost of hide armor. Okay.
Oh, wait. Yeah, so I was reading up on that while I was trying to make this character. Do you know that Anubis is the one that's credited in Egyptian mythology with creating leopards?
Anubis was like, I'm a man with the head of a jackal. What would I fear most?
He, I think it was Set, went to attack Osiris while he was embalming him, trying to put him back together, and he fended him off, but he was just a normal cat, but he somehow fended him off with, like, fire, and it put burn spots on him and all of his future generations. And so now when you embalm someone, you're supposed to wear leopard print.
It's digging into Egyptian mythology for totally not another campaign that I'm going to run at some point.
It's weird.
Yeah. It's cool, but weird. Especially if you dive into any of the stuff with, like, the 12 Gates to Worlds or any of that type of stuff. It just gets, like... It's just like... And there was a giant snake here, and it was breathing fire. But it's not like that other giant evil snake that was chained up in the other room. This is a totally
giant
cool
snake.
Giant snake.
Totally different giant snake.
There's a lot of inbreeding and random shit, too.
I think that's probably pretty close.
I think that's a good spot to end it. You guys have been in a fight. You've bought a little bit of equipment. You've each had
Killed a guy.
visions.
No, that was just I don't think mine means anything.
I don't even know.
But who was that guy?
You can take what you have seen however you would like. Thank you everybody so much for watching. I'm glad you two survived. You had me a little worried there for a minute.
I shouldn't have this die near me. I'm too tempted to pick it up and roll it. It's like my default pickup die when I'm a DM.
You do not want to roll the DM's die as a player. I've made that mistake.
Fair.
Yeah, thank you everybody so much for watching. We'll see you in the next one.